Good afternoon. We all know that the world is changing. There's a lot that's happening, be it the environment, be it the world, right? Also know that the pace will never be so slow again, right? And I say that because I have a lot of my business leaders, business partners who often ask me that, you know what, let's do this when things have slowed down. Let's do this next year. Let's do this when things are not that chaotic. And I always say, actually, that is now, because the pace will only be faster. So we all know that, right? I'm assuming, and I'm sure that all of you also know the macro trends of what's changing, right? It's a lot about the multipolar world, digital, environment, everything is changing. But I'm going to bring it closer to what's changing for us. How many of us in the room are HR practitioners? That's great, right? Because I'm going to speak about what is changing in the world of work. What is changing for us as HR practitioners. And if you allow me a few minutes and come with me on this journey of imagining what the world of work will be like, given everything that's happening all around us. Are we game? Are we awake? Fantastic. Okay. So let's imagine a world of work. Some is good, some not so good, right? So let's imagine a world of work where 500 million more people need work, right? Where does this come from? Which comes from simple stuff. How's our population increasing? What's happening? How many more millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Alphas are going to come into the workplace? And also, how many more people whom we today don't consider a part of the workforce are going to be in the workforce? Because all statistics show that actually the retirement age is going to go up. You know, interestingly, in Unilever, and that's the company that I've been with the past 20 years, in Brazil, we recently launched an internship program for people around that age group. A little bit like the movie Internship. I don't know how many of you have seen it. Go and see it. It's really nice, right? So we just launched that just last month, which is an internship program for post-retiree people, because that's a fact. Imagine a world of work. When I'm talking here, I'm talking to two-thirds robots, right? Because that's actually what's happening, right? And it's not really all gloom and doom, because if you really look at the statistics, not everything is going to get digitized, not everything is going to go to robots. It's parts of our jobs. It's a few of the jobs. Of course, 2/3 of all the jobs, but at the same time, every time, till date, all the digitization, all the AI, all the robotics shows that for every job that's taken away because of digitization, 2.4 jobs are added. Sounds good? It's not gloom and doom, right? So imagine a world like that. Talent pools around just a handful of giant organizations. Sounds kind of counterintuitive with so many organizations popping up, but that's what research is showing. As much as we want to say, because I'm not a millennial, I can comfortably say it, you know, these millennials keep hopping around. No, they don't want to. They are just trying to find a company which matches their purpose and they want to stay, right? So that's another thing. Employment and education merge. There's no clear demarcation that I've stopped studying, I've started working. And at the same time, another dichotomy, there are a lot of people who are not studying, who are not working, who are looking for jobs. Imagine a world where there is no opportunity for some. We have people looking for jobs, but there's no opportunity for some. And look at the developed world. In the developed world, you have a significant portion of the world actually saying that no matter how hard I work, I'm not going to go ahead. That doesn't feel right, right? There are going to be more people in the slums. There are going to be more people looking for jobs. That is the new world of work too. And then at one end, you have people who don't have jobs. But in the future, there are going to be people who have more than one job. How many of us around here has a side gig? Okay, there are a few people, right? Yeah? So actually, if you look around, a lot of people are going towards that, right? And if you look at the D world right now, 1 in 4 in the UK are saying that that's the way they want to work. And then how many are familiar with Etsy? Okay. The rest of us, let's go on and figure out what that is, because that's where the world is going, right? A lot of people want to have more than one thing to do. All of us here as HR practitioners, I am for sure, I'm very passionate about it, spending a lot of time on inclusion, on diversity, right? And we all know that gender diversity is the first thing. What if it's actually the women and the young who are actually getting marginalized? So imagine a world of work where, in spite of everything that we are doing, they are the people who are actually getting marginalized. And of course, we've seen this. Right next door, we have WeWork. So imagine a world without headquarters. But it's not just about co-working spaces. It's also about decentralized workforce. So it's not about people coming together in a common workplace. It's about workplaces being completely decentralized. My home, your home. So imagine a world of work like that. And we do know that there are big organizations which are actually going counter this, going against this, right? But this is the key drive, which is still there, right? And finally, imagine a world of work where today, if I stop working for Unilever actually tells me, hey, Amrita, become an entrepreneur. Come work for us in another way. That would actually be fun, right? That's where we are really going, right? And that's really what the world of work is like. And I've just put this together for us to pause for a minute and think about the dichotomy. We have so many who need work, not enough work. So many who have more than one job, right? We have so many people, we have no headquarters, yet people wanting to come together. We are talking about entrepreneurship. We are talking about more people coming into the workforce. So actually, the world that we live in is really a world of a lot of dichotomies. And actually, that is wherein, in this whole new place of work, in this whole new organization, in this whole new firm, is where our role as business leaders, as HR leaders, HR practitioner really comes in. And as we sit and think back, and especially when I sit and think back on this, I actually put down my role in really 3 broad areas, or I say there are 3 things that we can do. We can transform, we can learn, and we can be more human ourselves, and we can teach others to be that. When it's about transformation, we looked at the whole thing, and I call it sort of, a lot is changing. It's becoming inside out, because what's happening, our assumptions are really being questioned. The way we looked at leadership, the way we looked at business is changing. Leadership for us was about superheroes, right? The new leadership is about humility. The new power is about collaboration. Organizations were about ownership. It's no longer about ownership. It's about access. Access to resource. Isn't that what Airbnb and Uber has? Access to resource, isn't that what the open talent economy or the gig economy is about, right? So there's an entire shift that's happening, and that's why I call it, it's about transforming the way we work, the way we organize ourselves, right? So that's the first bit. The second one really is jobs are changing completely. And if you haven't read this book, this is a beautiful book, The 100-Year Life, right? Find some time to read it. Right? It's really based on the philosophy that I grew up with, that my life is really about 3 phases. The first one, I will study, I will get educated to be something. The second phase, which I'm living in right now, I will work. And my final phase will be retirement. But if you remember everything that I spoke about earlier about the world of work, this is really changing. Jobs are disappearing. They're disappearing really fast, right? There are lots and lots of jobs. If I remember the statistics right, I have it here, but let me try and remember it rather than read it. Some 65 million jobs will go away in the next 10 years, and some 600 million need to be created in the next 15 years. Yeah, 33% of current jobs will get replaced by machines. Those are just some of the statistics. If that's the case, we really need to get into the habit of learning and doing things differently, right? Because I am not going to retire from where I am. I know that already. The model that I grew up in, my 100-year life model, is not relevant any longer. I need to do something if I want to stay employable. And the thing I need to do is I need to get into the continuous habit of learning, right? We all know that any skill that we have today, even if I learn it today, the half-life is 2.5 years, which means in 5 years it's redundated, which means 2.5 years later it starts going down slope. That means I need to add something to myself, right? I know that my kids, when they grow up, they're not going to do jobs which even exist today, right? We all know that, and I'm sure a lot of us around here are doing jobs which didn't exist when we were in school, right? We know that, and these are the statistics which are out there, right? As organizations, we know that. We keep speaking about internal succession planning, and that's why things need to change, because we keep talking about how we will internally grow our people and our talent, whereas we actually know, so you have the statistic up there that while 85% of the top C-suite CEOs want to promote internally, only 25% believe that we have the internal capability. So what do? I think the only answer to this is really about learning, right? And the only thing that we really need to do is actually, as HR professionals, create a culture which is a culture of learn, and unlearn. And in that, just add in learn, unlearn. I need to unlearn certain things to get ahead. And then I need to relearn. And in that learning, I also need to remember that learning has to be in a way which is relevant to people. We were born to be curious. We were born to learn. We forgot it somewhere along the way because we got conditioned to this 3-part life of studying, working, and retiring. Let's go back to that curiosity. Let's make learning, and at Unilever we call it, let's make learning snackable, which means I should be able to pick it up when I want it, have a bite of it, go back to it, learn again. Let's make learning always on, something I can always do. Let's make it integrated with my purpose. Let's make it modular, right? So that's what we need to do with learning. I'm coming to my last bit here, which if you hear from whatever we are talking about, what's happening is actually what's coming at the center. Luckily for us, it's human beings, which is at the center of all of this. There's a lovely book there which I've referred to. In the interest of time, I'll skip it, but if you find the time, there's Friedman's article and book which is about hands, head, and heart. It really talks about how the evolution of the Industrial Revolution, earlier people who had the skill in their hands went ahead. Then it was about, when machines came in, the hand was no longer required that much, it was about the head. Later on, it's not the head because that's got replaced by artificial intelligence. It's about the heart, people who have the empathy, right? People who have, and nowadays it's called STEMpathy because you need STEM with empathy, right? That's what really goes ahead. But it's really about keeping the human being at the center. And to keep your people engaged, it's really about something which I must speak about because it's very dear to me and it's very dear to the company that I work with. It's about ensuring that we link up with the purpose of people, about whole human beings. We allow people to bring their best selves to work. We allow people to be their whole selves by integrating work with purpose. So that's really what it's about in this new world, in this changing world, in the new world of work, about how we need to transform, about how we need to learn, about how we need to link ourselves to our purpose and continuously keep going. Thank you.